She knew she had to escape, but the prince's guards were watching her every move. Prince Henry approached her, his eyes determined. "Sonia, I know you are hesitant, but I assure you, this is the only way to secure your freedom. You will bear me a son, and in return, I will set you free." Sonia shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I can't do this, sir. I won't be a part of your game." Prince Henry's face darkened. "Fine, then you will rot in this prison forever. You will never see the light of day again." Sonia knew she had to think fast. She couldn't give in to the prince's demand, but she also couldn't spend the rest of her life in captivity. She needed a plan, and she needed it fast. Just then, a soft knock at the door broke the tension. Prince Henry called out, a servant entered, bowing low. "Your Highness, the royal advisor requests an audience with you." Prince Henry's eyes narrowed. "Tell him I am busy," but the servant hesitated. "He insists, Your Highness. He says it's urgent." Prince Henry said, "Fine, I will see him, but this is it. Over, Sonia. You will bear me a son or you will suffer the consequences." He stepped out of the room, leaving Sonia alone with the servant. The servant approached Sonia with a sympathetic gaze. "My lady, what should I get you to eat?" Sonia's response was firm. "I'm not your lady and I don't need anything. But if you truly wish to assist me, help me escape from here. I'll be forever grateful." The servant's eyes dropped, and he bowed. "I regret I cannot assist with that, my lady. If there is nothing else, I beg to take my leave." He quickly departed, leaving Sonia alone in her room. A few minutes later, Prince Henry stormed back into the room, his anger palpable. He paced back and forth, his eyes blazing with intensity. Sonia asked, her voice steady, What is wrong?" He halted his pacing and turned to her, his expression pleading. "Are you ready to do what I ask? I implore you, Sonia. My father's health is failing, and I must ensure my claim to the throne is secure. Please, help me in this matter. I'm not here to force you, but please help me. My father is sick. This is information I've just received. I don't wish anything to happen to my father, the king, but I still want to be prepared in case anything happens." Sonia's eyes narrowed. "You want me to bear you a son just in case your father dies? You want to use me to secure your claim to the throne?" Prince Henry's eyes flashed with anger, but he composed himself quickly. "I'm not using you, Sonia. I'm offering you a chance to gain your freedom. You'll be treated like a queen, and our son will be the future king. You will have everything you could possibly want." Sonia scoffed. "Freedom? You call being a prisoner and a breeding tool freedom? No thank you. I'd rather die than submit to your plans." Prince Henry's face darkened. "You are not in a position to refuse me, Sonia. You are mine now, and you will do as I say." Prince Henry's face showed a mix of anger and desire. He growled at Sonia, "You think you can reject me?" His hot breath was on her face. "I've been patient, but I can't wait anymore. You will do what I want, one way or the other." Sonia tried to push him away, but he was too strong. He pinned her against the wall and started kissing her. "Forgive me, give me some time, let me freshen up," Sonia said. Prince Henry replied, "I'll be waiting for you." Sonia went to the bathroom, locked herself in, and cried. She didn't know what to do. After a while, he asked her to come out. She did and suggested they take a test to see if they are compatible for having children together. Henry said, "I'm O positive, and my blood genotype is AA, so I can marry anyone." Sonia asked, "Do you know if I have any disease?" "You don't have sickness, you don't look corrupt." Sonia then asked him to promise that if they had a girl, he would let her go, but Henry wanted a son and insisted to try again if the child was a girl. Sonia reluctantly agreed, and they were intimate with tears in her eyes. Henry promised to help her if she gave him a son. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Despite the strange situation, Henry began to show Sonia kindness and affection. He brought her beautiful gifts. He spent time talking with her and making her comfortable. Sonia found herself softening towards him, but she never forgot the situation that brought her there. One afternoon, the prince came back with smiles on his face and went to Sonia. "Pretty, I received a report that you are pregnant." "Thank you, I'm so excited." "I just pray it's a boy," the prince said. Sonia felt a mix of emotions. She was scared, confused, and hopeful. Maybe things might turn out well, she thought to herself. Back at the Benson's house, Mr. Benson's sisters and their husbands had succeeded in sharing their brother's wealth. They took over his house, his money, and even his businesses. But despite getting everything they wanted, they weren't satisfied. They fought and quarreled among themselves over who should get more. They didn't care about anyone else, and they totally forgot about Mrs. Benson, who was still in the hospital. "She is more or less dead, she's of no use," they said heartlessly. But Mr. Benson's best friend Dr. Fred owned the clinic where Mrs. Benson was being treated. He took very good care of her, making sure she had everything she needed. But he couldn't stop wondering why Sonia wasn't coming to check on her mother. "She can't be this wicked like her aunties," Dr. Fred thought out loud. He was very worried about Sonia and couldn't understand why she hadn't visited her mother. One day, Dr. Fred decided to visit one of Sonia's aunties to ask about Sonia's whereabouts. He went to Auntie Mary's house and knocked on the door. Auntie Mary opened the door and looked at him with unease. "Hello, Auntie Mary," Dr. Fred greeted her politely. "I am very worried about Sonia. She hasn't visited her mother in the hospital. Do you know where she is?" Mary glared at him and said, "Am I Sonia's keeper? Why are you asking me?" Dr. Fred tried to remain calm. "Please, Mary, it's very important. Mrs. Benson is very ill and she needs her daughter. Do you have any idea where Sonia might be?" Mary answered, "I have no idea where that girl is. Now if you excuse me, I have things to do." She slammed the door in Dr. Fred's face. Dr. Fred felt frustrated and worried. He had hoped that Mary would give him some information about Sonia, but she hadn't been helpful at all. He returned to the clinic, determined to continue taking care of Mrs. Benson. Meanwhile, Mrs. Benson was slowly getting better thanks to Dr. Fred's care. She often asked about Sonia, but no one had any answer for her. "Where is my daughter?" she would ask quickly, her eyes filled with worry. Dr. Fred would hold her hand and say, "Don't worry, Mrs. Benson. We will find Sonia. Just focus on getting better."
Subscribe to my channel.